Attention baby boomers, or the kids of baby boomers. There is a serious conversation that needs to start happening. As boomers begin aging and considering what to do with their current property, a massive choice needs to be made. And the choice is if they're selling the property that they're in now, should they rent something or buy something else? Do you want to downsize to something smaller with less maintenance, or perhaps keep a slightly larger home so that there's room for loved ones to visit? I'm going to deep dive into the numbers today using real examples. You or perhaps your parents are getting older, and now it's time to talk about downsizing to either something smaller with less maintenance or a different location. But the question becomes, should you buy something or rent something? To know the answer to that, you've got to look at the expenses for both. Here is the median rental rate since 1988. As you can see, rents go up over time. It's not uncommon that when you renew your lease year over year, the rent changes. Now, with a property that you purchase, assuming you've purchased it with a loan that has a fixed rate, your monthly expenses are going to stay relatively the same. What may change on a property that you buy are the insurance and property taxes. Depending upon where you live in Florida, this is really something to consider, especially if you're in a coastal area, because what we have seen in Florida is insurance rates rising dramatically, which could be tough if you're on a fixed income. It's a really good thing to talk to an insurance agent to see what kind of numbers you should be budgeting for. With a rental, often things can go up, like insurance or HOA dues, and those tend to get wrapped into your loan. So don't be shocked if that increases for your landlord if your rent increases as well. One of the main benefits of owning versus renting is the simple fact that over time, the property you own is going to gain value or equity. When you rent, you have no value earned. Yes, that property is appreciating, but it's not appreciating for you. So when you move out, you don't have anything to show for it. When you own something, the value that grows over time can either be a valuable asset for you or perhaps for future loved ones. Now, since I can't predict the future, let's use an example from the past. Let's say in 2018, two different people sold their property to downsize into something smaller. Meet Barbara and Mary. Barbara sold her home in 2018 and decided to rent something. Mary sold her home in 2018 and bought a property. For comparison's sake, let's say that when they each sold their homes, Barbara and Mary each walked away with $150,000. Barbara found a really cute 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Blues Creek in Northwest Gainesville, and she rented it for $1,250 a month. Per year, that's $15,000. So after the first year, her savings account has $135,000 remaining. Mary happened to buy a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in the exact same subdivision for $131,120. Now, for purposes of this example, I want to explain something. I am using real properties that I found in the MLS. How I got this number for Mary is I took the 5 sales that happened that year and I averaged them. Mary used some of the equity from her home sale to put $60,000 down on this property. She was able to do a 15-year mortgage at 4.6% interest. So the monthly mortgage would be about $550, but when you add in HOA taxes and insurance, which I looked up on the property appraiser for this house, her monthly payment would be about $862 per month. After the purchase of her property, Mary's gonna have about $90,000 left in her savings account. With a monthly payment of $862, that's gonna equal $10,344 a year. So after the first year, Mary's gonna have $79,656 in her account. So now we're gonna go on a year-by-year journey all the way up to today. It's typical for rents to go up about 5% year over year, so that's what I'm gonna calculate for Barbara. For the property expenses in 2019, if Barbara's rent went up to $1,312 per month, that would equal $15,744 per year, which would leave her savings account with a balance of $119,256. Mary's monthly expenses haven't changed. She's still paying $862 per month. So with a yearly total of $10,344, she's gonna be left with $69,312. In 2020, Barbara starts paying $1,377 per month, which per year is $16,524. which leaves her savings account at $102,732. Mary has another year at $10,344, so her savings account is now $58,968. In 2021, Barbara starts paying $1,445 for a total of $17,340 for the year, leaving her with $85,392. Mary shaves off another $10,344 and is left with $48,624. The next year in 2022, Barbara starts paying $1,517 for a total of $18,204 for the year. And now she's got a nest egg of $67,188. In 2022, Mary keeps paying her monthly mortgage of $862 and puts in another $10,344. She's now left with $38,280. This year, Barbara's rent went to $1,592 for a grand total of $19,108 for the year, bringing her savings account down to a total of $48,084. Mary's still chugging along with her monthly payments of $862 and has put in another $10,344 for the year. This brings her savings account to $27,936. But wait, let's look at those savings accounts again. If these women are getting to a point where they need to move into assisted living, what happens? Barbara ends her lease and moves. That's it. Mary has some choices. She or her family can decide if they want to keep the property and rent it, which, based on the rental amount we know Barbara was paying, would more than cover Mary's mortgage. Or Mary can decide to sell the unit and use the money towards her assisted living. If they decided to sell, there were 5 units that sold this past year in Blues Creek. So what I did is I took the average of those sales, and that was $225,500. So Mary, after selling and paying her closing costs and seller fees, would walk away with about $155,000 to put towards assisted living. And let's just play devil's advocate and say that while she lived there, she spent about $30,000 fixing up the property, a new AC, flooring, or appliances. She'd still walk away with $125,000. Let's compare those savings accounts again. Barbara had no property to sell and had earned no equity since living in her rental from 2018. So her savings account is still at $48,084. Mary, after having built equity and value in a property that she owned, now has her savings account value at $152,936. Mary actually made money while Barbara dwindled her savings. And this is a real example. I didn't make these numbers up. I found real properties in my area and tracked them over the last several years. Buying versus renting is a massive debate amongst buyers of all ages and stages. It's a conversation worth having. And if you want to crunch some real numbers, I would love nothing more than that. And let me tell you, for a girl who absolutely hated math in high school, numbers bring clarity. And these are absolutely the conversations you need to be having, whether you're older and thinking about what's next, or if you have aging parents. Because sometimes one of the biggest questions is, when exactly is the right time to downsize? I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. See you next time.